Oh, sweet mama. Let me know. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Behind the Glass Sports Podcast.
I turned on your mic right when
That's good.
you said that.
I didn't even have the stream up. So, for those who don't know what we're talking about, Brandon usually has to give me a countdown because he doesn't share his camera anymore. So, he has to tell me when to go when the YouTube stream starts. And I didn't even have the YouTube video up. He's 3 seconds. And I was like, oh, God. Oh, sweet mama. But thanks for joining us. We're starting a little bit late today. Why is that? Well, yesterday we couldn't do it. And then this morning we both overslept and forgot we were going to do a podcast. So,
Yeah.
but we're here. As you can see, there's a lot more space back here, so much more room for activities. There's not a treadmill and loads of junk to hold me in. Got my lighting, got a nice little white light. So, anyways, got a lot to talk about today. Drew Lock, as you see on the title, is he the real deal? It's a bit aggressive. I don't know if that's what we're going with, but he played well. So we'll talk about Drew Lock's game and the Broncos game overall, in which I thought they would win, but I ended up switching my pick because Garrett Bowles wasn't going to play, and now I'm just kicking myself. But we'll talk about that, a little bit about the Nuggets' first preseason game in which they lost, but there was some nice things to take away from that. So got a lot to talk about today, but first let's get started with the Denver Broncos win over the Carolina Panthers, which, I mean, I think everybody would agree this is by far the best team game that they had, even though the defense was trying their hardest to lose the game at the end.
The defense wasn't very good throughout the game, other than in maybe
I would say early. Early they were good.
Yeah, I would say the first quarter and a half. I think once Carolina kind of sped up the game, they kind of fell apart there. But
even through 3 quarters, I mean, they held them to 10 points.
Yeah, they held them to 10 points.
So, I mean, it was that fourth quarter where they gave up 17 right from the jump. So, no, but it was the best team game. They put together almost everybody put together 4 quarters. Mm-hmm. And Drew Lock, he put together 4 quarters on Sunday. Kudos to him. It was definitely by far his best game of the season, and there's no doubting that. 21 of 27, 280 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. He was only sacked 1 time. He did fumble once. I don't know how much you can put that on him.
That wasn't on him.
Yeah, because, I mean, that guy came in like a screaming missile. That's usually what I look like when I run into Crumble Cookie.
Well, it's funny.
I take the goodies from them.
In some other games I watched, that should have been a penalty on roughing the passer.
I don't think so.
Well, I mean, some of the other games, there was some calls that weren't even as bad as that, and they got flagged. It's the call is inconsistent, but. Yeah,
I thought it was a clean hit. But,
I thought it was too, but the way he drove him into the ground, which is what caused the fumble, that would have been a flag in a few other games.
Gotcha. Okay.
So,
but either way, it was a solid game from Drew Lock.
Yeah.
Played his best game of the year. It took us to week 14 to get that. But definitely his second, I would call this a flash game.
Yeah.
This is his second flash game. I personally still think that Houston game was better last year. And coincidentally, did you know both of those games happened in week 14 of the season?
Yeah, it's exactly a year ago.
Yeah. So, but I still think that Houston game was better. I know a lot of people think this one was better. I just think that one was better, one, because it was against a playoff caliber team. Mm-hmm. It was Drew Lock's first road start. He threw for more yards, 1 less touchdown, and I think he did have a pick in that game. But, I mean, it was, like I said, playoff caliber team. Now, Houston was coming off of a huge win, so it was kind of a letdown game for them. But still, I just thought that one was a little bit more impressive.
Yeah.
But yesterday, he was great.
Because this one, you're going up against, Sunday. A 17th, 18th ranked pass defense.
And that's the thing, and we can break this down. Like, did Drew Lock play awesome Sunday? Yes. However, the Carolina Panthers are not a great defense. Now, you only can play who's on your schedule. Mm-hmm. So I would rather him look good, look good in any given game like this. It doesn't matter whether it's the Jets, the Ravens, the Bills, or the Carolina Panthers. And he did that. So kudos to him. Was there a lot of resistance? No, because it's the Carolina Panthers. but he still has to go out there and make the plays because we've seen even against bad teams, he doesn't play very well. So listen, he played great. I'm still not sold. Now, I do think this is the step in the right direction because I think now we're starting to see that the offense is not relying solely on him to make every play. I think we've seen a considerable change in play calling. We've gone away from, I'd be curious to see how many snaps they were in shotgun versus how many snaps they were under center with Drew Lock, because I think that's been a shift. I think they've stayed committed to the run game, even though they didn't break 100 yards Sunday. Melvin Gordon was 13 carries, 68. Phillip Lindsay was 11 carries, 24. And Drew Lock even had 6 carries himself. So they're staying committed even when they're not. I mean, it was only 3.2 yards per carry, so that's not great. It's fine. He's solid, but they're staying committed to it. And they're not putting too much on Drew Lock. They're allowing him to take shots when the shots are there. He's not forcing the ball downfield. He's finally taking what the defense is giving him, it looks like. Still can't complete a pass to Jerry Jeudy for his life, which I just don't understand. But he's taking what the defense is giving him. He's not forcing and pressing. Now I think the next step is not only doing this for one game, but stringing games together. But also I'm curious to see, and I'm glad that a good football team is coming up this week in the Buffalo Bills, because I want to see when things get messy, when things don't go their way and they can't stay on track, then how does he react?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing, the one thing that stands out to me is I see 8 total receptions by tight ends, 9 total targets, and Noah Fant didn't play. He
was in early,
yeah,
but
he got hurt. So, I mean, that's something where we haven't really seen a ton of, and that's a lot partly because Drew Lock, I mean, he just wouldn't take the check down. He wouldn't take the easy throws. Those were all easy throws to his tight ends, and it resulted in a touchdown to Vannett. Hamler, that stat line, 2 catches, 86 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's exactly what you want to see from KJ Hamler. That's your, that's a breakdown type of player that can, if you're hitting these, short passes to Vannett or, even Jeudy, Patrick, whoever, and you're getting short pass, eventually you're going to hit one. And that's what KJ Hamler is there for. So the offense looked exactly how it should have looked since week 1. I don't know why, the Broncos, it really, the problem with the Broncos is they just have never seemed to have a plan. And they've kind of just, why fire your offensive coordinator when you go 4-1 in your last 5 with your rookie quarterback? It doesn't, and the offense is starting to actually look pretty good. Not great, but they at least were moving. That was something that, and then you change your whole offense, by the way, on your young quarterback. So it never. Again, they're just poorly run, and at the end of the day, when you're poorly run, you just make bad decisions, and you hurt your players, and that's what this kind of resulted in. Now, do I think that if they keep on going with this system, I would watch Browns and what the Browns do with Baker. If you do that with Drew Lock, will he be as good as Baker? I don't know. But that is I think the only way where you're gonna have success with Drew Lock.
Well, and I think too, and you mentioned Baker, like what has changed with Baker? The coaching staff and the GM has changed, obviously. But I think they've brought in a coach and a staff that realizes, okay, Baker has talent, but Baker's not at a point in his career, or may not ever be at a point in his career, where he can will a team. And to be fair, like, there's not a lot of those type of quarterbacks in the league.
No.
I mean, that's why there's only a certain amount of elite guys, and why there's like 3 or 4 guys that seem to make it to a Super Bowl very often. So, what do you have to do, especially with the younger quarterbacks? And we saw this with like Russell Wilson. And this is not a knock on QBs if you have to go this route to start your career. Tom Brady had to do it as well.
Mm-hmm.
When you rely on a running game and a defense and you game manage, you can be successful that way. And this offense, which is the West Coast offense, and Tyler Polumbus was talking about it yesterday on the drive a lot. This is a very successful offense. That Mike Shanahan, Gary Kubiak, that West Coast, that's what Scangarello was running last year. So I don't think it's a coincidence that we saw Drew Lock go on a little run last year with that offense. And then now that we're starting to see more of that type of scheme being implemented, oh, wow, he played his best game of the year. So, which is kind of weird to me because Drew Lock wasn't under center a lot at Missouri, and now he's having the most success of his career under center.
I think it's
it's
a lot of giving him space and giving him wide open receivers. And that's where, because especially when his wide open receiver is his first target, his first target isn't the deep ball. That's, hey, if you see it, go for it. But your first targets are, over the middle of the field, wide open, you're rolling to your right, rolling to your left, whatever. So I think it's just really simplifying the offense for him.
No, it's definitely what it is.
And
it's
that's
a lot
what
of, like,
that's
Kylo
what,
Reeds.
Yeah, and that's what Cleveland does with Baker. I mean, a lot of, if you go back and look, Baltimore's defense isn't very good, but when you watch a lot of Cleveland games, it's a lot of. I mean, they started off the game. I don't know how many bootlegs they did, but holy moly, I think they ran 5 straight, all to the same side, and Cleveland still couldn't, or Baltimore still couldn't stop them. That's you're giving your quarterback space to where he doesn't have to worry about the pocket. He doesn't have to worry about getting pressured, and you have everyone moving towards the right, and you're gonna have someone wide open usually. So it works.
They're playing to his strengths right now. They're not giving him a lot to read on the field. It's 2 wide receiver routes and maybe a tight end or a running back that's checking down. They're bootlegging it to the right, which you mentioned. And if you notice, Drew Lock doesn't really throw a lot to his left. No. And unfortunately, Jerry Jeudy is always to his left.
Yeah, whenever he runs out of the pocket, he runs to the right, and teams are going to catch on to that.
Right. So, and I think they were. That's why I think when they were doing 3 wide and shotgun, like he's only looking to one side of the field. It's the middle and the right. That's I'd be curious to see where a lot of his interceptions are. They're probably predominantly in the middle and on the right hand side.
Well, the 2 New England ones were specifically, they were both on the left side.
Yeah. So I mean, I just think that they're, like you said, they're simplifying the offense. They're relying on the running game. You're starting to see, even though Phillip Lindsay is struggling, you're starting to see Melvin Gordon really pop. That's why they paid him. So he's starting to have success. They're doing just enough on the ground to either have good games or keep teams honest. They're utilizing the tight ends more, which sucks because the Broncos have their best offensive game and Noah Fant's not out there.
Yeah.
But they're simplifying things for him. So what does that tell you when it comes to Drew Lock? It tells you that he's not good enough to win games by himself right now. Nobody's saying that he can't ever be that, because I don't think, if you would have asked us in that 2013 Super Bowl, hey, do you think Russell Wilson will ever carry a team by himself? I would have said no. I mean, he's a guy that's relying on a great defensive run game. He's very athletic. He can move, but he's not like winning games with his arm. But now look at Russell Wilson. Yeah. He's an MVP candidate every year, and he's slinging the ball all over the yard. He's one of the best playmakers at the position right now. So it's not to say that Drew Lock can't ever be that, but there's still major work and strides he has to complete to get to that point. No one's saying that he doesn't have the talent to do that, because he has the arm. No one denies that. He's mobile enough. So he has the skill. It's just the mental part and the technique, the footwork. He's not throwing off of his back foot a lot anymore. There's still a couple times he did it, but he's not doing it as much.
Yeah, he completed one.
Right. So when Drew Lock is the icing and not the cake, the Broncos can be successful. Whew. Oh, I got through that one. Shout out to that Philly reporter, man. I know what you're going through. I apologize, man.
Uh,
that hit me right in the heart. I was
um,
like, oh,
fortunately for you, we don't have the audio, so.
yep, that is long gone into the ether where no one else can. Honestly, it might be just a myth at this point. Can anyone actually prove that? I
No,
don't think
there's.
so.
Well, I mean, we could get Janae on, and she
Probably,
can.
she's busy. You don't need to bother her. Probably doesn't even remember that. College
I'm
media.
sure she remembers that one.
Uh, yeah. I think mine was probably worse because I was asking to a female. So, yeah, and it was face to face, whereas that guy was over Zoom to Doug Peterson. But Peterson's reaction was
Yeah.
just, well, like, come on, did you have to do that reaction? Everybody knows what he said. You didn't have to make it that much worse. Anyways, for those who don't know, there was a Philadelphia Eagles reporter who asked Doug Peterson, the head coach of the Eagles, a question about success. Instead of success, he said sex. Completely changes the whole basis of the question at that point. Now we're talking completely different things. And he threw in great. I think before that, I think he meant to say great success, and he said great sex. So it was even worse. So I feel bad for the guy. But you'll get through it. I did. I survived. But anyways, when you don't rely on Drew Lock to be the reason you win, and he's the accessory and not the item that you plug the accessory into, when he's the icing and not the cake, he can have success. He can be a good, formidable quarterback. But when you have to rely on Drew Lock, then it's not the best thing in the world. And we mentioned it yesterday on the show, and I'm curious to see if I could find that tweet. But somebody compiled, because now Drew Lock, I think he's played 15 total games, and this includes the Steelers game. But I think he's played 15 total games, and I bet I could just look at his career stats. But I think he's at like 60% completion, a little over 3,000 yards. I think it was 20 touchdowns to 16 picks. So if you put it together like a full season, at this point, I mean, it's solid. It's nothing. So here we go. For his career, so through 15 games, so almost a full season of work now, we have 59.5. So if you want to round up to 60% completion, I won't hate it. That's okay. That's
how
not
many
great.
games has he played?
15 games.
Okay.
So next week will be a full complete season. So we could probably project he'll be around like 60%. But right now it's 60% completion rate percentage, 3,218 yards, 20 touchdowns, 16 interceptions, and a QBR or a passer rating of 79.7. They don't have his average QBR here, but it looks like it'll probably be somewhere in the mid 50s. So I mean, it's solid.
So
Now, if he would have put that up for a first year, like if that was his first year numbers, I think we'd be optimistic about that. It's not great. I think there's a lot of things which you liked. There's a lot of things which you didn't like, and I think the numbers show that. But I think ultimately, overall, and we can just naturally go here, through Drew Lock's 15 games, almost 16, how would you grade him? Where are you at with him through the whole body of work, not just the recent stuff, taking into account to last year's games? Where are you at with Drew Lock? How would you grade that?
Well, when you said that, I decided to go and look at Baker's numbers.
Okay.
So in 14 games, 63.8% completion percentage, 3,700 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions. So, Josh Allen, I just pulled his up, but that first year with Buffalo, I don't necessarily like to count just because that team was so bad. But in his first 12 games, it was 53% completion percentage, 10 touchdowns, 12 picks, 2,000 yards. I would say a better comparison would be his second year, just because now it's a little unfair to Drew Lock, slightly, just because this is Drew Lock's second year as well. Most of his games have come in his second year, so I guess it's whatever. But I think this is a better comparison just because the Bills started to give him a little bit more help. I think they fired everyone after that first year with Josh Allen, or at least maybe that was like the second year in the system. I don't know. But through 16 games, 58.8% completion percentage, 20 touchdowns, 9 picks, 3,089 yards. So with those two, he compares pretty close. The interceptions are still really high. I want to see that completion percentage get up to like 64, 65. But look, Josh Allen in his third year, 68% completion percentage, 3,600 yards, 28 touchdowns, 9 picks. Baker in his third year is putting up 62% completion percentage, 2,700 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 8 picks. So, I mean, I think you have to give, at this point, Drew Lock a third year.
That's what I was just about to ask you. Is it time to just give him a third year?
Well, I think at this point, the reason why I say yes is it's not because of what he did on Sunday. I think it's more so the Broncos' record. They have, 5 wins. They're not going to have a top 10 pick. Quarterbacks aren't going to be where they're at. And then you combine that with how the year's been, the injuries, the situation, being in Shermer's first year. I think you just have to bring everyone back. John Elway's, 1 year left on his contract. It's just a combination of everything now. And now you add in the 5 wins. I think it just makes it very, very difficult to find a good reason to move up in the draft and grab a guy that you love. And good luck getting one of those guys at this point, because they're probably going to go 1, 2, 3 at this point. So I don't really, it doesn't make sense. But again, the Broncos front office has done a lot of things that doesn't make sense. So I don't know. But I think at this point now, if Drew Lock comes out in these last, how many games we got? 3?
3.
If he comes out in these next 3 games and he throws 2 touchdowns and 6 picks, and it's looking like a disaster, then it might be best to bring in a veteran at that point, because you're still not going to be able to draft anyone, most likely. Maybe you get lucky. Maybe there's a team up there that doesn't want a quarterback, and you can make a trade for them at number 3 and take Zach Wilson or whoever the third quarterback is. And at that point, you're giving up a decent amount of your future, but you're saying, screw it, we got the talent, we just need the quarterback. But I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, it could. Look, the Bills' defense has been playing really good. They were trash early on in the season. They've been playing really good these past couple weeks. So this is a big, big game for Drew Lock. And it's up against a quarterback the Broncos could have taken. And, it's also another quarterback that a lot of people compare Drew Lock to. Josh Allen's bigger, but other than that, I mean, they pretty much have the same comparisons. Not really that accurate early on. They can move, strong arm, all that. They have the arm talent. Can they put it together? Josh Allen's put it together. So, we'll see. But I think these next three games are massive. I think this Bills game is massive for Drew Lock. If he doesn't need a flash game, but he just needs a solid game. And if he does that and the Broncos have a chance to win, or at least make it close, then, yeah, I mean, I think at this point you have to bring him back, bring everyone back, and just see what happens. Because then you get Courtland Sutton back, and Jerry Jeudy in his second year, KJ in his second year.
Juwan
James. So, whatever draft pick, they really need to help out the defense with the draft. I would spend every draft pick on defense. Or you could go draft a running back. That might be, that look at what Cleveland did, right? They went out and got Nick Chubb, and that is essentially completely changed this team. I think if you want to, you're going to be right around that range. I don't know who the best running back in this draft is, but if you decide to do that and pull that trigger, I'm more than happy with that. I think if you give Drew Lock a really talented running back that can, be really good in the pass game as well, I mean, that's if you can get him a Nick Chubb, if you can get him a Dalvin Cook, if you can get him a whoever, that's exactly what this team needs. And then spend the rest of the picks on defense.
I think and right now they're currently at 13, so they jumped from 10th to 13th with that win. So when it comes to running backs, I think for me, I agree with you. I think the first couple rounds, they've got to get a corner. I think they actually like their linebacking core. So if there's not anyone great around where they're picking, they probably won't take one, at least in the first round.
I wouldn't mind if they took a running back in the first round. I wouldn't. As long as it's...
unless it's Travis Etienne, which I don't think they'll be able to get.
Let's see.
I just don't know if you want to take a running back at the first. I think corner is more of a pressing need.
And I agree. But if you want to go all out with Drew Lock and you want to continue to do so, now this mock draft doesn't have a running back in the top 10, so at that point, I don't think. What I'm saying though is I would go for Travis Etienne is the best running back on this list. Then maybe I wouldn't, unless he drops into the second round.
I'm looking at Tankathon's mock, and they have him falling to 21, and they have Denver taking J.C. Horn, which is a cornerback out of South Carolina at 13.
Yeah,
so
the one I'm looking at.
Maybe he might fall to you.
Yeah.
I just don't know if I was about to say the Nuggets. I don't know if the Broncos would do that, just because. And another thing too is if Melvin Gordon plays well enough, they may not void that contract. Maybe they do bring him back.
Well, no. Well, he's going to be suspended, number one. Number two, right. Are you going to bring back Philip Lindsay? Probably not.
Well, he's going to be an RFA. So I think, or he's under that type of contract to where they'll place a tender on him, and if a team wants to sign him, they'll have to give up a specific draft pick. So I think Philip Lindsay will be back at least next year. And then after that, who knows what happens?
Okay, well,
then I think pretty much you're running back the same squad.
Then maybe you wait. This defense.
And you could get running backs anywhere.
That's true.
You don't have to draft.
That's true, but like I said, I think if there was a running back this year that was like worthy of a top 10 pick or a top 15 pick, I would take that shot. Now, I get it. A lot of people don't like taking running backs in the first round. But if it's I can't think of any first-round running backs right now that were in the top 15.
I said, if it's Etienne, then I'd take him.
Well, I wouldn't take Etienne in the first round, though. I'm talking like an Adrian Peterson type of running back that's in the top 10, top 15. That's what I'm talking about. And I guess there's no running back like that this year, so then I wouldn't do that. But I would try and find someone in the draft at the running back position, 3rd, 4th, 5th round at this point. I would draft probably 2 corners. I would draft a safety just in case, and work on that defensive line then if they like their linebacking core. But I also wouldn't mind them going for a linebacker. But yeah, go heavy defense in this draft, because you're gonna hit a point where all these weapons on offense are gonna start, needing to be paid, especially Drew Lock, because you decided to draft him in the second round because you couldn't make up your mind. No. So you lost a year. So you're gonna have to pay Drew Lock. Now, maybe you'll get lucky and he won't play well enough to deserve a massive deal. So you might be able to get a little bit lucky with that and only have to pay him like $20 million a year, 25 instead of 35, 40. But yeah, you're gonna have to start paying Sutton, Locke, Noah Fant, so that's something.
Yeah, they're gonna have some some decisions to make,
Yeah.
and it's coming up quick. But I mean, to get to the point about Locke, I do think it's trending toward him getting a third year.
Oh, yeah.
And I was thinking about this after the game, and I was just like, my stance has always been, listen, and this was more when they were losing games. Clear everybody out, start fresh. But if you keep John and take a quarterback, but if you keep John and you just clear out the staff, don't take a quarterback, just take BPA and just roll with Locke. Again, essentially, because I just don't trust John to take another quarterback. And then if he leaves and a new regime comes in, if they don't like that quarterback, then it's essentially a wasted pick. So, but I think now, like you said, I mean, they're at 5 wins. You could even make the argument there's a chance they could get 7 wins again. I think they can beat the Chargers. Right now, I think I would favor them over the Chargers, to be honest with you. And then I think they could beat the Raiders. The Raiders look good early in the season, and they've completely just crumbled throughout these latter weeks. I could see them beating the Raiders. I don't think they'll get to a point where they'll be almost dropped 60 on like they were in that first matchup. So if they get to 6 wins, even if they get to 7 wins, then they're for sure getting. And I think it's trending. I think it's about 70% now that they'll run it back. If they get one more win, I think that bumps it up to like 85. And if they get 7 wins, that's 100% that they're bringing everybody back. It was COVID, it was injuries. We're fine. Give us the continuity. And at that point, I think that's the right move to do.
Mm-hmm. Give it one more year.
Then you give Drew Lock a full year. Now there's really no excuses. Okay, now he gets, we suspect, a normal offseason. It's continuity with Pat Shurmur. And listen, this all hinges too. Like, it's not a sure thing. It all hinges not only on Drew Lock, he has to play well. Because I agree, if he goes up and stinks up the joint, then okay, no. But it also depends on how Pat Shurmur looks. Like, if Pat Shurmur can stay committed, and this is one thing that Tyler Columbus was talking about yesterday, Shurmur has a default, and it's that 3 wide, chuck it all over the field. What does he do when the running game is stopped? Like, say the Bills come out and they completely shut down the running game this week. Then what? Is he going to stay committed to it? Is he going to allow Drew Lock to have these easy reads, or is he going to be like, okay, we're going to panic and we're going to go back to what wasn't working early in the season? So it also depends on how he looks. But I think regardless, even if they do run it back for a third year, I really want them to bring in a quarterback to push Drew Lock. I don't want it to be a Jeff Driscoll, Brett Rippon. I want somebody that's going to push Drew Lock. I don't know who that is, but somebody that's going to make him sweat a little bit. Because just because you're getting another third year doesn't mean you're the guy. Like let's get that straight too. Even if he gets another year, it's still another year of, okay, we're trying to figure out if you're the guy. Well, it's not we're
only
giving
that,
you this year because we know you're the guy.
Right. Not only that, though, Drew Lock hasn't proved that he can be healthy for a whole year.
That's it.
I mean, his first 2 years, he's had 2 injuries that's knocked him out. Now, granted, he wasn't going to play his rookie year, but he still got hurt. He would have missed the first 3-4 weeks if he was the starter.
Yeah, I believe it was a thumb or a wrist or something like that.
Yeah. So how is he going to stay healthy? Is he fragile? That's something that that's a big concern. So yeah, you need to go out and get a good backup, because not only to help Drew Lock and to push him, but you need someone to just in case, because I mean, if Drew Lock doesn't get hurt this year, you could argue that they have 1 extra win or even 2 extra wins. You never know. So because the one
they maybe beat that Steelers team.
Yeah, the one thing about Drew Lock that I've when he came back, I did, and even when he came in to start last year, when he's out there with the team does play better. The offense, the whole team, the offense, defense, they all play better when he is out there. And I think that's just because how bad the backups are, to be honest. But I think
they also, genuinely like
they like him.
He does bring something to the team.
So that's something where you need him out there, and if you don't have a backup, just in case he misses 2 or 3 games, you need someone that can bring that same type of feel to the team, or else you're just throwing away 2-3 games, and you can't have that. So they need to go out and get a solid backup quarterback. I don't think a guy like Stafford would want to be a backup. So I don't know who's out there that you could go out and get, but you need someone that can at least kind of hold things down, because I guarantee you Drew Lock misses it at least 2 games next year at some point.
Yeah, it's likely. Well, I don't want to say it's likely, but it's possible because I mean, he's shown it's the same questions that we have with Philip Lindsay. It's the same question we can have with Drew Lock, where there's history now of injuries in each of his, first few years of starting. So can he change that? Can he find a way to battle through that and get healthy? And some of it, I think it was the thumb thing. I think his first injury, and I think that's just kind of like a freak accident. I think he kind of like Drew Brees I think that's what happened. He hit it on the helmet. Yeah. For some reason, I think it was a wrist. I don't know. I don't know why.
I think it was more of a fluke thing, but
yeah. But I mean, then he hurts his shoulder. That one too. It's kind of like he takes a bad hit. I don't know if he had any others in between that, but I think he deserves a third year. And I think if we are looking at a full season, and we went through his numbers already, but it's right now through 15 games, combining obviously last year's 5 games and this year's 10 games, 59.5 completion percentage, 3,218 yards, 20 touchdowns, 16 interceptions, 79.7 passer rate, and somewhere in the mid-50s. They didn't calculate it, but somewhere probably in the mid to low 50s for the QBR. I think when you think of Drew Lock's totality, and you're not just keeping it to the recent games, I think there's things you like, there's things you don't like. I think it's enough to say, okay, I'd like to, I wouldn't mind seeing another year. But again, I don't think it's definitive, even though I was very definitive early in the season, and I jumped the buck on that, I'll admit it. I think there's no definitive yes or no on him. That's a good and bad thing, I guess. But at least there's still optimism of, okay, maybe he can be the guy. Maybe he just needs, I don't know. Some QBs develop slower than others, I guess. I don't know. So I wouldn't mind seeing him back for a third year. That's kind of where I would like to go at this point, especially given where they're at in the draft. It doesn't look like anybody's going to be cleared out, so I don't want them to draft a quarterback anyways. Just go BPA. Hopefully, in my mind, hopefully that's corner, because I think there's some good corners in this year's draft. I think there's one out of Ohio State that is making some waves, and we know that the Broncos like taking Ohio State cornerbacks, have success there. So we'll see. I think Drew Lock has earned that. And again, we can give compliments on this show when we see good play. Drew Lock played great, played really well. So let's see some more of that. And ultimately, like, it comes down to this, guys. Like, we don't want Drew Lock to fail. Like, if Drew Lock succeeds, that means we get out of this world of suck quicker, as soon as possible.
Yeah, we don't want him to fail.
Yeah, we're not like, hey, he sucks. We don't want him to be the guy. It was just up until this point. And listen, also, too, this is part of the context. Like, it took to week 14 for him to have his second flash game. Okay? So we want him to be good. Just like, we wanted, Paxton to work out. We wanted Brock to work out. We wanted Trevor to work out. All these guys that have donned a Broncos uniform. Chad Kelly, that was my hero right there. When I saw him drafted and he was asleep on the couch, I was like, that guy has it. I don't know what he has, but I like it. Just turns out that he wasn't the guy. He got beat over the head with a vacuum tube cleaner, and the rest was history. So we want Drew Lock to work out. It's best for the Broncos franchise for Drew Lock to work out. It just, up until this point, what he was showing us, it was trending more likely than not that he wasn't going to be that guy. But he's kind of corrected it. And again, this hinges on how he's going to perform in these next 3 games. This one's a big one. Listen, if he comes out, and it doesn't have to be 4 touchdowns, 300 yards, these gaudy numbers. Like, if he just comes out and it looks good, he's taking the shots, he's taking what, when they're there, he's taking what the defense is giving him. He's not forcing things. He's playing within himself and in the offense and giving this team a chance to win and not throwing them out of it. Then okay, good. But at the end of the day, if he plays bad, then I think you can go back to, okay, maybe he doesn't need a third year. Maybe we bring someone in to be the starter and he's the backup type of situation. So we'll see how it goes. He's played well. It's good for the
Yeah.
Broncos.
Looking
and
at the schedule,
hopefully
he should have at least one more flash game this year.
if not two.
No.
If not two. Because
And
again, the Raiders have not looked good.
yeah,
Like the Raiders is now a very winnable game.
To me, a flash game is, I would say, 270, 3 touchdowns. You can have a pick, 65% completion percentage. That's what I want to see. That's, in my mind, that's a flash game for a young quarterback. You know, I know some people want, you know, the 325, 3-4 touchdowns, whatever. But I mean, you know, on Sunday he had what, 270, 268, something like that. 4 touchdowns, no picks. So, you know, that's a flash game.
280, only completed 21 passes.
Yeah, so, you know, that's, I want one more of those, at least.
Yeah, I think it's hard to put numbers on it too when it comes to these flash games, because like you could have a 4 touchdown game and, you know, it still be kind of wonky, you know, still not look good. So
that's why I say you need a 65% completion percentage.
Yeah,
that's one of the big things.
You know a flash game when you see it.
Yeah.
So
right.
Hopefully we see 1, if not 2. I think he has the potential to have 2. I would not be shocked if they came away with 2 more wins and they finished 7-9. And then even then, that bolsters our point of what we thought about this team before this season ever started, before things even got shut down. We thought this could be a wild card caliber team. And if all the guys were healthy, maybe they're 9-7. You know, maybe ceiling, I think you said 10-6.
Yeah.
Maybe they even got to that point. Who knows? But like I never said this team, I never thought they were going to be bad because talent has never been the issue. They've completely infused this team with talent, whereas with Vance Joseph it was woof. But now they've gotten talent in. It's just been discipline, it's been injuries, inconsistency. So hopefully they can
just overall decision making. They have talent, but they're poorly run. At the end of the day, it's a poorly run team. I don't think they have a very good coach. I don't think they have a very good GM. And, you know, if you put some of this talent on these, you know, teams that are well run, I think this is a playoff team. So at the end of the day, it starts from the top. You have the talent. Drew Lock is a guy that you can build an offense around. He's not gonna be that, you know, he's not gonna lead that offense necessarily, but you can at least build a solid offense around him. It should be a 9-7, 10-6 team, but at the end of the day, injuries do suck. But I mean, every team has injuries, so I really don't like that excuse. At the end of the day, they're just poorly run and not coached well.
Yeah.
At least the whole team in total isn't coached well.
I agree 100%. I agree 100%. And, you know, every team was going through COVID. You know, there's a lot of other young quarterbacks out there, too, that have to battle through it. And, you know, some have done better than others. Drew Lock has, you know, it's been okay. It's been okay at this point. So we'll see how it goes this week. They got the Buffalo Bills on Saturday at 2:30. It's a big game. And listen, if he balls out this one, then you really completely change the narrative. Then you get people excited. Then you get, if Drew Lock comes out and balls out in this game and say he just puts together, you know, good to okay games in the next 2 ones, or even puts out another one, then you recapture the optimism that we had at the end of last year going into this year. Then it's like, okay, then it's really like, man, it was just COVID, the injuries, he didn't have an off season, Pat Shermer, new offensive coordinator, we're back in it. And then Colin Cowherd's probably, hey, Drew Lock, MVP train again, and dance as much as you want type of thing. So we'll see how that goes. But a big game coming up this week against the Buffalo Bills. Before we close today's show, we'll get to some nuggets here. They played their first preseason game. When was it? Last Saturday, I think it was. Obviously lost that game 107-105. They were kind of, and the starters only played, like Jokic and Murray, 23, 24 minutes. The starters max played 24 minutes, looks like. So you got a lot of bench minutes for everybody else that played about half of the game. The starters looked okay. I mean, well, Nikola looked fantastic. Like he looks like he's already in midseason form. I mean, 9 of 11, 1 of 2 from 3. He had 26, 10, and 5. Like it's a standard Jokic game there. Nothing to see here. I thought Jamal looked kind of hesitant. He was 2 of 6, 4 points, but he hit a couple tough shots, made some good passes. So curious to see, and he had 8 rebounds, 4 assists. So I think it would be curious to see how he does in these next games. G was 5 of 11, 11 points. You like to see it. 1 of 3 from 3-point line. He just looks healthy.
Yeah.
That's one thing that stood out to me. He looks healthy. He looks quick. His defense was there, and he was on Steph. And I don't know if you saw this too. I thought this was an interesting comment from Michael Malone. He said, "Gone are the days where I hide Jamal Murray. Now it's time for him to guard the big boys in the West." So he's not going to hide him from Dame. He's not going to hide him from Steph Curry, Paul, all these guys. It's time to buck up and
because he's got another one. He's got another one to hide. So you can't have two.
Right.
You gotta hide.
We gotta hide now, MPJ. So you can't hide anymore. And Jamal, I think, has improved defensively.
Yeah.
And listen, like the West is just a complete horror show when it comes to the point guards and guards you'll have to face each week or each game. So I mean, these guards all cook each other. So it's not like, oh man, Jamal let Damian go for 45. Well, okay, Donovan Mitchell gave up 50 to Jamal. So yeah, these guys are going to get theirs most likely.
Yeah.
And G will see those guys too a lot. So I think it'll be fun to watch these guys. The starting lineup we saw was Jamal, Gary, Jokic, Michael Porter, and Paul Millsap. MPJ struggled shooting the ball, 3 of 12, 7 rebounds, 7 points. I thought, though, a lot of the shots he missed were very makeable shots. I think that more likely than not, he'll make those.
Mm-hmm.
I think instead of 3 of 12, you'll see a 7 of 12 in there.
The concerning things with him, though, the 5 fouls.
Yeah. Did he have 5, really? Wow.
Yeah, he had 5 fouls. Jokic had 4. So that's something to watch. I think as the season goes, it's not a shocker that this was a starting lineup. 1, Will Barton didn't play. And 2, I think eventually we'll start to see kind of the rest of this rotation kind of flesh out. Who's more of there to stay type of deal. I'm curious to see. So Jermichael Green had 19 minutes. He went 1 of 6 at 2 points. The rookie, the Najee kid, had 10. He played actually pretty well. Mm-hmm. I'm very curious to see what happens at that backup power forward position. The Hartenstein kid,
he looked good.
He looked really good. That was a very nice surprise. He had 9 points, 4 rebounds. So those 3 that I just mentioned, that's gonna be a battle with minutes for them. We'll see. I mean, Jermichael Green was 1 of 6. If he hits some shots, get some more rebounds. I don't like to see only 3 rebounds. I just have flashbacks to Jeremy Grant, so I would like to see at least 4. But other than that, I thought RJ Hampton actually looked pretty good too. I want to see more of him. PJ Dozier played really well. But Dozier had 5 fouls. One weird thing about Dozier, he just hacks guys.
Sets a tone. Lets them know you're there.
I guess. Monte played well. I don't like seeing Monte shoot threes. It drives me nuts. But look, this bench, even the starting lineup, there's a lot to figure out with this team. I think at the end of the day, if you have a 9-man rotation, at this point, if Gary's playing that well offensively, you have to start Gary over Will. Have Will come off the bench. It's gonna be a battle between Millsap, Green, and even the rookie, this Najee kid. I can't wait to watch more of him. I thought he played really well. So
yeah, I think when the Nuggets really struggled when they went to the second unit because there was no clear option of scoring.
Mm-hmm.
So either they're going to have to stagger minutes in the regular season with Murray, take Jokic out early and keep Murray with the second unit, or I think they're going to have to keep Will Barton in that second unit. They need somebody who can come off the bench and score.
Yeah.
Bol only got 6 minutes. Otherwise, I would say that's an option too. And maybe
that is really frustrating. I don't understand.
It's not shocking to me.
It's not shocking, but it's still frustrating because it's a preseason game, and you gave him the least amount. Well, second least amount of minutes. You need to see what you have in Bol Bol. You really do. These preseason games, he needs at least 10 to 15 minutes just to see what he can do, see if he can help the team, because I like this Hartenstein kid. I really liked what Najee did, but Bol Bol is you gotta see what he can do. You can't play him 6 minutes.
He's an X factor.
Yeah, you can't play him 6 minutes in a preseason game. That can't happen.
I think he'll get more when we play Portland and all that stuff. But and Campazzo, you didn't mention him, but I thought he did some nice things. Now his size is always going to be an issue, but I'm telling you, all the comments about his defense is legit. He is so quick. I mean, he gets by screen. Like, he is the definition of the worm badge in 2K. He gets around screens so quickly, and he recovers instantaneously. It's amazing. His passing ability is as advertised. I think Jokic and him are going to have pass battles every game. Jokic is going to be like, he just does the nice, like, slick passes. Campazzo might take your head off if you're not looking. Like, Campazzo might bust somebody's eye socket if they're not paying attention. That laser he threw, he was like, it just came in there like a freaking heat-seeking missile. I forgot who it was to, but he got it there, and it was on a rope, too. Like, it was accurate, and he threw it from the hip. Jamal Murray said they've already nicknamed him Spider-Man because he's everywhere, and the way he throws the passes, I guess it's like Spider-Man swinging on, I don't know, something like that. But he looked good. The Monte, Mr. Steady Eddie, 5 of 11, 10 points. I mean, that's what you expect from Monte at this point. I thought Jermichael Green is just, I think for him, it's just fitting. I think he was pressing a little bit, trying to figure out where he was going to fit in. He was kind of iced out there for a little bit. They weren't passing it to him. And then when they did pass it to him, it was just bad situations. Najee, he has a nice looking stroke. I saw Ryan Blackburn comment about that. He's got a nice shooting stroke. So it'll be interesting. I don't know why, but with him, I just get Chris Bosh vibes. I don't know if he's like that skilled offensively. I doubt he is, but just kind of like the frame and just kind of how he's built. I think Chris Bosh might be a little bit taller, but that's just kind of the vibe I get.
Najee's 6'11". I just looked it up. Yeah,
is he?
Yeah.
Wow, I thought he was like 6'8". Okay, well then they're about the same size. Well, I think Najee's a little bit more athletic than Chris Bosh, though.
Yeah, these two rookies, man, they're impressive. They're really. I want to see a lot more of these two rookies play. Now, obviously, it's hard to do that when your head coach is Michael Malone. But, this kid, let's see, he played in Arizona, averaged 16 and 8. He shot at 57% from the field, 30% from 3, 76% from the free throw line. I mean, I don't think he's the guy where he's going to get a lot of minutes this year, but he might be their solution at that power forward position next year. He can play. He can play. He's good. They picked, I forget, he was their 22nd overall pick. And then they moved up to grab Hampton. I love Hampton. He went 1 of 4, but I thought his defense was solid. He had one defensive mix-up. I'm
just so worried about his frame. He is so slight, man.
Yeah.
There was a play in there where he got the rebound and he God bless his soul. He tried to muscle a guy, like he gave him a shoulder and it bumped a little bit of the Warrior and then the Warrior blocked his shot. And I was like, ugh. And I think it was Hastings. He was like, yeah, he's going to learn that in the NBA that's not going to work very often for him.
Right. Right. I think for him, he's not going to play this year. But it's going to be important for him to get some G League experience. Honestly, Jermichael Green better be careful because this Najee kid could definitely take minutes. I get he's a rookie and Michael Malone doesn't tend to like rookies, but he could play himself into some minutes. He's good.
Yeah. Well, listen, if he plays well enough, we've seen it. Jokic played himself into a starting spot too. And speaking of that, we might as well do you know what today is?
Yeah, it's the day that they made that switch.
December 15th. 4 years ago today, my life will never be the same. And it never was the same. 4 years ago, Michael Malone benched Yusuf Nurkic and placed Jokic into the starting five for good. Since then, this is crazy. Since this decision, Jokic has led Denver to a 177-117 regular season record, 3 playoff series wins, and a Western Conference Finals, averaging 25, 11, and 7 in his playoff career. Wow, that's what you call a franchise player and a guy who changed. And imagine there's people that actually wanted that, like, think Nurkic is better than Jokic. It's just not a thing. It's just not.
No.
This is the best center in the league. And it's crazy that it was 4 years ago. Wow. And he's changed the trajectory of that franchise ever since. Well, him and Jamal Murray, for sure. They've put this team not only back on the map, but they've made them respectable again. They got the eyes of a guy like JaMychal Green, who left the Clippers to come here. I mean, he's leaving Kawhi Leonard, Paul George to come here. Mm-hmm. So that shows you, and hopefully next year that's not a JaMychal Green, it's a star wants to come here, and he saw, hey, I saw what these guys did a couple years ago, and I feel like I can help them. And maybe they don't even need that. Maybe they have that in MPJ, and we're just there already. But it's crazy to see where this team is at. Their next preseason game is tomorrow, right, against the Trailblazers. I think they play them back-to-back.
Yeah.
The Trailblazers.
Yeah.
I think it's so they got the Trailblazers here. And
tomorrow and Friday.
Looks like in. Yeah. Oh, I guess it's just a home and home, so they'll play them here twice. So there you go. You get to see Damian Lillard, arch nemesis.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, that Portland team is gonna be. They're gonna be tough. I would not be shocked if they made it to the Western Conference Finals this year. They are deep. Melo, Robert Covington. That Harry Giles kid that they got from Sacramento, he looked really good in the debut for them. And I get it, it's just preseason. And not all these guys are going to play, but that's going to be an interesting team to watch. And I wouldn't be shocked if they won the division this year, because the Nuggets have had a stranglehold on it for like the last 2 or 3 years, I think it's been. But it's going to be fun to watch.
They got Derrick Jones. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I'm telling you, they're going to be a stacked team. Derrick Jones, obviously, Dame and CJ, which is an interesting situation with those two. I don't. At Sun, Zach Collins is going to come back. Obviously, Nurkic.
See, Portland
Rodney
fans
Hood.
probably wouldn't like if I said this, but I would find a way to move off CJ McCollum.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
go get someone.
Is there a stealing there with CJ and Damian? I think there is.
Well, here's the thing. Again, same thing with like guys like James Harden. I guess I like to have that wing player and then a big, or at least another bigger wing player, right? So like, if you could go, I don't know who would be out there, but I don't know. Like I would say if you could get Bradley Beal, but I don't think Beal and I don't know. I don't really like that with Beal and Dame, so I don't know.
CJ's already 29.
Yeah, I would find a
He's
way.
Already 29 years old.
If you could get Dame, someone at 3 or 4, that can score, play defense.
Is he older than Damian?
No, Dame is 30.
Is he? Let's see. I'm looking at their contract right now. I forgot that he signed an extension. Okay, yeah. So Dame's 30. He's 29. I mean, they're tied together.
Like,
I mean, looking at their contracts,
if you could get a Kawhi, you know what I mean? Like that would. But like a Kawhi type of player.
But even like a Paul George.
Like a Paul George, Chris Middleton.
A better version of Middleton. Like Paul George. Yeah, if you get that, like that'd be ideal, right?
But that type of player, I would put next to Dame, or even another big. But I can't really think of anyone that would be available. But
like if Melo was like 7 years younger.
Yeah, basically that would work.
It's just
it would work well.
Yes, they're tied together. The next time CJ is going to be a free agent is 2024, and Damian's contract, he'll be a free agent in 25. So they're unless they trade one of those two guys, which obviously they won't trade Damian, but if they trade CJ,
Yeah.
I mean they're locked. Wow, I did not know they were that old already.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
I just don't like the two guard system. I get like people are gonna be like, well, what about Golden State? But Clay is 6'7".
Yeah, well, those are the two best shooters ever.
Well,
so.
yeah, well, that
and one of those guys is a great defensive player.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Clay is 6'7" and can defend 2 through, he can defend 1 through 3. So like, it's different. It's not like you have a 6'2" guard and a 6'3" guard, and they do the same things. Like, I don't know. I've never really liked the duo. I would put Dame with someone, either a bigger wing player or a big. But that's what I would do with James Harden. I don't get why Houston would always like go out and get a guard and put like especially a point guard. Like James Harden is let him be your point guard and then go and put him someone next to, like if Philly go and get James Harden and put him next to Embiid, it would work great.
Well, listen, this might be Portland's best opportunity to win a championship this year. I'm curious to see what all their contracts are. But I would think that their starting five is obviously going to be Damian, CJ, Nurkic.
Well, Nurkic is
Collins,
a big deal for them this year.
And
they
Robert
need,
Covington.
Yeah, they need Nurkic to have a really good year.
Let's see. But I think that's their projected start. I think Melo's going to come off the bench. But I think it's going to be Damian, CJ, Robert Covington, Nurkic, and Zach Collins, which is a solid lineup. Like Covington's a 3-and-D guy. We know Nurkic is a playmaker. Like he's a great value version of Nikola Jokic. He can playmake. He can shoot a little bit. Zach Collins can stretch the floor as well. He's only 22. Let's see. 2021. These guys are signed. When are they free agents? Let's see. After this year,
did they really get Cantor back? Wait.
Yeah, that's another two. I forgot about that. Yeah, I'm telling you, they're going to be really good this year.
Because he left them, and then he re-signed back with them. That's hilarious.
Either that or he got traded there. Yeah. I wish this would tell me who's their player option. When is Nurkic even up? Is he not up till like 22? Did he sign an extension?
Yeah, I think they signed him.
Oh yeah, he's not up till 22. All right. Yeah, honestly, I do think this is probably their best chance to win a championship is this year. So, this year or next year, because they'll have Nurkic as well. They're going to be a fun team to watch. I'm going to hate watching them and playing against them, but they're going to be a fun team to watch. They're going to be really good this year. But the Nuggets will have them tomorrow and then Friday, and then boom, just like that. I mean, 7 days away from the home opener versus are they on the road for that one? Do they open at home or are they in Sacramento for that game?
I believe they open on the road.
Let's see, of course.
They usually do.
Nope, they'll be at home. They'll be at home their first three: Sacramento, LA, and then the Clippers. Obviously, that Clippers or Houston. That Clippers one is the big one because it's the last game on the holiday Christmas schedule there. So we're close. We're barreling down the road to it, and see how it goes. But that's going to do it for us today. We appreciate you guys for listening. Shout out to the Nuggets and shout out to Drew Lock for doing well. Hopefully he can put together another game this weekend. From Brandon Stoll on the other side, I am Stephen Priest Jr. saying Happy Nikola Jokic Day. I'm crowning it a holiday since Mayor Hancock won't. This has been the Behind the Glass Sports Podcast. We'll catch you guys on Friday. Oh.